Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Club Junkie podcast. Hopefully, you're having a great Thanksgiving day. I know there's tons to be thankful for, so hopefully everybody's having a safe travels wherever you're going. If you're going to meet up with family, friends, whatever, be safe out there. Drive carefully. If you're in the kind of Metro Detroit area, it's raining and it's crappy out, so make sure you take extra caution. Don't rush. The turkey will be there, so don't fly out the door. Speed to wherever you're going. Just take your time. It's Thanksgiving. It'll be all right. You can, always warm that stuffing up when you get to wherever you're going. So, but hopefully everybody has a great Thanksgiving and, have some fun with family, friends, whatever your traditions are. But, before we get into today's episode, I just want to let you know today's episode brought to you by Titleist. And, the golf season may be winding down in many places, like unfortunately here, but the holiday gift-giving season is just starting to heat up, and it's going to be crazy. So whether the golfer on your list is out playing or just stocking up for next season, the Titleist golf balls make a perfect gift. The golfer would be thrilled to unwrap a dozen Pro V1, Pro V1X, Pro V1 Left Dash, or AVX golf balls, because they aren't just golf balls. Golfers know that they're the very best, most trusted in the world, and they deliver the performance they need to shoot their lowest scores. So it's what makes Titleist the number one ball in golf, and the number one gift as well. I know when I worked in a shop, we gave people would always come in and buy dozens of Pro V1, Pro V1Xs, whatever it was, because that's what they knew their golfer family or friend would like. So make the holidays even happier this season. Learn more about gifting the Titleist Pro V1, Pro V1X, Pro V1 Left Dash, and AVX balls, and all things Titleist at Titleist.com. So, yeah, when I worked at a shop, I remember, back then it was like early 2000s, and it was like anybody who walked in, we had a stack from around holiday. It was like floor to like waist high. I don't know how many boxes wide against this wall. And it was just, we'd burn through them. People would just come in. Hey, I'm looking for a ball. Even people who had no clue what golf was. Hey, I'm looking for a ball. They said something about a V1 or whatever. Like, they just kind of knew. And you just walk them over and say, here you go. You had Pro V1X, Pro V1. They'd grab a dozen, 2 dozen, whatever it was, and out the door they'd go. So, always a good gift. I'm always a fan of golf balls as gifts. It's something that, especially tour level golf balls, you can never really go wrong with that. But, yeah, hopefully, like I said, you guys are having a great Thanksgiving. I know the show probably won't get a ton of listens because people will be out doing stuff with family, but it's okay. I publish my show on Thursdays, and that's just part of Thursdays. You run into some holidays sometimes, but not a big deal. Like I said, if you're listening to this when you're traveling or heading to wherever your destination is, like I said, just be safe and be careful and have a good time. So I'm heading out to I'm going to see both my family and my wife's family. We're going to kind of do the split, and that's what happens when all families are local and you have a small child. It's not that they care to see us; they care to see my daughter. They don't really care to see my wife and I. We're just the transportation of getting her to those homes. So we'll be doing both, and I will be definitely eating way too much, like I always do every year. And I'm excited because you always get leftovers too, and hopefully there's a good amount of leftovers this year. I know I've had years where there hasn't been as many. But I am a fan of, I'm not a huge leftover guy, to be 100% honest. Just, it's not 100% my thing for the most part. Like leftover pizza, certain things like that, no problem. I'll eat them. But there's also stuff like, I don't know, there's just other certain things like, you'll bring something home from a restaurant. And it's just not, I don't know, it's not my thing to eat a ton of leftovers. But either way, it's fine. But Thanksgiving, it's just different. I love getting turkey, mashed potatoes, corn. Whatever it is, I love getting kind of everything. And then the next day, and my wife's the same way. So it's probably why we're married. We take everything, take the turkey, take the mashed potatoes, the stuffing, whatever, and you basically put it in a big pan or pot or whatever. You throw it in there and you start heating it up, and you just make a big mush of everything. And it's absolutely delicious. So that is kind of one of my favorite things. So I'm excited to hopefully get some leftover turkey and stuff like that. But it'll be a good time. So it's going to be small, much like I think a lot of people is toned down from years previous, just because of still what's going on in the world in terms of health. So we're rocking a little smaller crew this year in terms of both sides. But hey, that is what it is. It's just kind of adapt with the times. So, but I haven't. I haven't, of course, still been playing a ton of golf, which is unfortunate. But like I said, just this time of year here. I wish I could have got out. I should have taken the day off yesterday and went and played because it was actually pretty nice. A little windy, but it was pretty nice. I could have gotten that, but again, with work, had a new hot water tank installed. Just, life gets in the way, and I think life needs to understand that golf is more important than hot water heaters and crap like that. But you don't have a choice, so I didn't get out and play yesterday, even though I hoped I would have. But I have been sitting around indoors hitting a ton of putts with the new Bettinardi putters. So Bettinardi Golf has brand new Inovai and BB series putters out for 2022. And I got, they sent in a couple intermediate samples. So if you go to golfwrx.com, there's an article with the launch. If you go into the forums, there's a bunch of in-hand photos of the Inovai 8.0, and then the BB, I think it's the BB 8 wide, the 8W, and also the, let's see, what was the other one that was sent in? The BB1. Oh, no, I'm sorry, the BB1. So there's a BB1 and a BB1F. The BB1 is the one that came in. I couldn't remember which one it was. But yeah, so there's in-hand pictures of those. They look really, really good. I think the shape, the BB1 is always solid. That's kind of like that that more rounded off. I don't want to call it a 009 because some purists and all that are going to get really mad at me. But it's that more rounded bumpers, softer look, kind of, Newport or Answer style blade. And it looks really good. It's really compact. It has a great shape to it. But I was a user of the BB8W last year, so I played with the 2021 one, or the 2021 model. That I think same thing launched in 2020, at the end of 2020. And honestly, I didn't really even think about it when it first came out. Hit some putts with it in the office. I was like, yeah, it's fine. And then moved on. And then, honestly, I didn't even really mess with it until Fujikura came out with their MC putter shafts. And I needed another putter with an L neck or plumber's neck hosel because I wanted to test basically the three different flexes of the Fujikura shaft. So I needed to find another, I wanted a couple putters to be pretty similar that I could just go out on the putting green and have all three. And that was sitting in the office. So I grabbed it, shafted it up, took it out, whatever. And just like out of the blue, hitting putts with it, I made a ton of putts. And so I put it in the bag thinking, okay, I have a little honeymoon phase with it. It'll last a week or two and I'll move on to something else. And it basically finished out, for the most part, the rest of the year. It and the Toulon Chicago kind of went back and forth of who was in the bag at what point, and that was it. And those two rode it out, and then the Bettinardi basically ran out the last, I don't remember how many weeks of the season, and it was the putter that was just in the bag. So I putted really well with it, and it was the first mallet or non-mallet I'd used in probably quite a while in terms of gaming. The Toulon Chicago, this year was probably the first year I've used a blade. I've been a mallet guy for so long. But I found that having a little toe hang, my stroke does have just a little bit of arc, not a lot. It's for the most part straight back and straight through. But for whatever reason, having just a little bit of toe hang has just the feel of it. And I don't think it's even part of how much arc is in my swing. I think it's just the feel of it. I've been able to square it up pretty easily and putt pretty well with it. So it was something where, I enjoyed using it. I think that longer flange of the 8W with the longer sight line definitely helped me with alignment because, I know some people love blades with just a sight dot or nothing at all, naked. And I've had a couple of those in the past, and I've never putted great with them. I may have spurts where I go and I putt really well, but for the most part, anything that's kind of naked or has very minimal sight lines, I don't putt with for very long. I don't putt well with for very long, and I think I'm better with a single or a very long straight line as a sight line, whether it's wider, something like a spider, whether it's just a straight line like the BB8W, something like that. And it makes sense. The Toulon Chicago is a little wider flange blade as well. Not quite as long as the 8W, but a little longer as well. And I think those things just fit my eye better, and those are the things that line up better. So, the 8W made it in the bag, and like I said, I made a ton of putts. I remember I played with one of the guys here, and we went out and played. It was kind of near the end of the year, and I was making everything. It was stupid how many putts I made, and because it was a little 4-man scramble, and it was just insane how many putts I made. And one of the guys commented just dude, you're just automatic with that thing. Your stroke is so good, and whatever. And I was like, yeah, I don't know what's going on. This putter is just worked really well with me. So the 8W from last year, which again, I'm holding my hand if you watch this on YouTube, but the BB8W from last year is, kind of was my go-to. And I did a little comparison on Instagram. If you follow me on Instagram at Club Junkie Pod, I kind of did a little comparison from last year's putter to this year's putter, and there are a few differences. Like, it's not just a graphics thing, it's not just a finish thing. They actually are. So the last year's, it's going to be like the 2021 BB8 is definitely a little longer heel to toe. When you look at it there, when you set them down side to side, a little longer heel to toe. The flange is about the same. The corners on the bumpers are a little softer on the new one. They're a little more rounded off. However, they kind of machined them. They're a little softer. The flange, if you look at the thickness of it, the thickness on the new one is definitely thicker. And it's got a different finish to it. But overall, I mean, they're pretty similar. When you set them down, I mean, it's going to be a BB8W. The other thing too is, which I'll get into a little more, but the feel and sound, and in terms of the milling on the face on this BB was, I guess, a fly mill, but just a traditional one, and it was really shallow. I mean, unless you kind of really look, you almost don't even see the milling on the face. It's really shallow, and it gave for a very responsive putter, but it was crisp. You definitely had a little firmer feel. If you used a ball like a Pro V1X that had a little firmer cover on it, you could definitely hear and feel that difference. And it wasn't, and that was one thing that I do have to say. The one thing, if I could have changed anything on this putter, I would have changed that the sound and feel, because I wish the milling was a little deeper, it was a little softer, whatever. That was my kind of my one complaint of the putter. It really did. It unfortunately had, depending on where you struck it, had almost like a little ting to it when the ball came off the face. So, and I was actually in the forums when I posted all the pictures of the in-hand photos, and somebody asked about, does that face still have a little ting? So it wasn't just me who noticed it. Some other people did, and when you struck it, it was close to center. I mean, it was like a well-struck putt, or pretty close to it. Produced like just a little ting when the ball left the face, and that was one thing I didn't love, because anything that makes that kind of sound, I tend to leave those putts short. I'll have that putter, and for whatever reason, subconsciously or whatnot, I try not to make that sound. So I'll just hit softer putts everywhere. So on super fast greens, okay, it's not so bad. I'm not hitting the ball that hard. But on slower greens, I'm going to leave everything short, because I think I honestly try not to have the putter make that noise. And it's something weird with me, I guess, but it's something that I've noticed with a couple putters that have a little higher pitched metallic ping to it, is that I tend to do that. So but like I said, a little different from last year, but overall pretty much same DNA. I mean, when you set them down, again, same sight line, same just single sight line, has a fairly fairly wide top, I guess I don't want to call it lead. It's not leading edge, but top line or the top line pretty wide, like last year's with the new one. But overall, to me, just a really good shape. I really like it. I think it's pleasing to my eye. It gives me, there's a little more meat there compared to a traditional blade, and I think I feel comfortable with that. That the fact that I can just about hit it, and I get a little more forgiveness if I miss it on the face. Not as much as a mallet, but I get a little more forgiveness. So last year's, like I said, gamed it for the whole probably second half of the year, and it pretty much finished out. Like, if I was going to go play, if I had to go play for money somewhere, this was probably going to be in the bag. So I really liked it, and like I said, made a ton of putts with it. But now, and the old one was actually was carbon steel as well. So the new one is here, which is the 2022 one, which like I said, for the most part, when you set it down, I think a lot of golfers, if you're not a Golf WRX type person, you're not someone who looks crazily at the details, this thing's going to basically look exactly the same as last year's. I think it's just a hair softer in terms of the overall shape. The bumpers, everything. Like I said, the rear flange, much thicker. But again, I think that is because the whole thing is shorter heel to toe, so they need to add some more weight. But overall, just a little cleaner look, just the simple Bettinardi B in the back cavity. They did add the Bettinardi to the hosel, the back end of the hosel, and then on the front, just a honeycomb, no B on it. But the big thing is that face, and it's basically got a brand new face that Bettinardi is the first time they're using it on for sure the BB series, but they're calling it the aggressive fly mill. So it's got the kind of shallow fly mill in it, much like last year's. Very, you can barely see it unless you're really looking. And then it's got like, kind of a big kind of swirl through. I mean, that as you mill something, it's a big spinning, kind of drill type bit. But they have like a bigger groove that kind of runs through it. And that thing just adds a little bit of softness to this putter and takes away any bit of that tinging sound. Whether you hit it on the, a little on the toe, a little on the heel, whatever, but it's still responsive. You're still going to know that either, you mishit a putt or you hit it dead center. It's still responsive. It's just you lose any of that kind of metallic ping or anything like that to it, which is nice. Same flow neck same L neck, plumber's neck from what I can tell. They look to be the same dimensions and everything. For the most part, like I said, it's pretty similar. It does have a slightly different finish on it. It's kind of a gray PVD that I think is just a little bit. I really like the color. It's like, what do they call this thing? Oh, graphite gray PVD, where the other one is more of a true black. This is graphite PVD. So it is a plating. It's not going to wear off. You're not going to have to worry about, if you get a little wet, it's not going to rust, anything like that. And on the downside of the PVD, you're probably not going to be able to strip it at home with just like putting it in vinegar or something like that. So if you want to make a raw, PVD BB8, you're going to take it somewhere and have them strip it. But it really is, the bottom graphics have got a little simpler. There's no red, white, and blue. This thing's just gray, or it's white and kind of light gray, and that's it. So it's a little more minimal in terms of colors and look. It's very subtle. The gray actually is nice. The only thing I don't like about the gray finish, this PVD, is that it shows a ton of fingerprints. So if you hold it or whatever, like when I was doing in-hand photos, like, you're taking the plastic off the head and all that, and it's like you just have fingerprints on it, which is a little bit of a bummer. I don't love that aspect of it, because when you set it down, when you go to putt, like you're going to see those fingerprints, on the flange, whatever, if you handle the putter in any way. And then I'm assuming when summer hits and I'm a sweaty hog, that I'm going to be leaving fingerprints all over this thing, which is a little bit of a bummer, but I don't think anything that's really going to challenge me not using this, or at least not giving it a legitimate try when spring comes around again. And unfortunately, like I said, this is stuff that's all on indoors putting mats. I haven't been able to get this thing out to the course yet. I'm hoping to, but I'm so confident in it that I already did reshaft it. I pulled the shaft out of the previous model, which is the Fujikura MC putter, the 115 firm, which is kind of the middle one. They make an extra firm and they make a smooth. This is the middle one that performs majority just like a steel shaft. It's got just a little bit of flex to it, but super low torque. But the new head, like I said, from look standpoint, looks really good. I think, you're not going to have to worry about glare or anything like that. In terms of performance, I think the feel and the sound is greatly improved. I think if you were someone who hit the BB series before, didn't like the sound and feel, you hit this one, you're really going to enjoy how this sounds and feels. It's totally different. It's much softer. It's much more muted. And there's no more of that metallic ting, no matter where you hit it on the face. So I'm recording this early in the morning, so I'm not tipped up vocal shape yet. But that aggressive fly mill, we're pretty much any deeper milling. Anytime there's more material moved away, there's less material making contact with the ball, which offers that softer feel and typically a more muted sound. Not always 100% one-to-one there, but for the most part, that's what it does. But this aggressive fly mill really, like I said, offers a really good feel, much improved. I really like it. I think if this was on last year's putter, I probably wouldn't even worry about switching, because I just love that putter. But this one here, like I said, greatly improved. I think longer putts, especially for me, I'm not going to have anything in my subconscious about, hitting the ball too firm or not firm enough or anything like that. So I think, for me, especially lag putts, I would assume that I might even improve a little bit. But yeah, love the shape. Like I said, performance is really good. I think the sound and feel is greatly improved. Responsiveness is good. I mean, if you hit it off the toe, hit it off the heel, it's got a little firmer click to it, a little more there. It's got a little firmer feel. Just a little more vibration runs up the shaft to the hands. But again, nothing that's super aggressive or super harsh. Everything is still pretty muted. And again, you're not going to get any of that high-pitched ting sound when you have those shots. So overall, the roll's been pretty good. Again, it's been on putting mats, but the roll's been really good. very minimal, hop, skip, anything like that. Again, that'll be interesting to see, more of when I get it on the course and you can hit that, that 30-footer, that 40-footer, or you have some greens that have a little, they're a little long or whatever like that. So it'll be interesting to see when I get it on the course if that stays the same. But so far the roll on this has been pretty darn good. And yeah, the overall space, I mean, the stability on it, which I think is something that I really like about the 8W, is definitely a little better. It's not as good as a mallet like the Inovai series, which we'll talk about in a minute. Definitely has more stability, but this has, I think, a little more stability than a standard putter, a standard blade. It's just got a little more mass, kind of back and low, and it's overall been, just a really good putter. So like I said, so far it's only been putting mat use for me. So far, though, made a lot of putts. It feels super comfortable. I mean, putting it in the hand. I will to say that longer blade length in the old one does, even though the toe hang is really similar on the two, and you set them up, they're pretty close. The old one does almost feel like it has just a little more, it wants to shut just a hair faster than this one at impact. And then again, that could be something just because I put the old steel shaft back in it compared to this. But that's the only thing that's really different throughout the stroke, is it almost feel like the old one wants to kind of just shut just a little bit quicker than this one. So we'll see if that translates to anything out on the course. So far on on putting mats, it's made no real difference. Like I said, in terms of putting side by side, made the same amount of putts. That's just a lie. I made more with this one, but that's because it's 33 inches instead of like the old one. I put the old 35-inch shaft back on it, and it's too long, and it just it's not the same anymore. I mean, in terms of the magic that it had. But this one here, I'm pretty excited to get out. I'm really excited to putt with it. I'm really excited to to see how the feel and everything goes outdoors. And I think part of it too, it's stainless steel versus carbon. Stainless steel, I know, has always had a reputation of being firmer or whatever, and honestly, I think stainless steel is still pretty soft. I think, depending on how you mill the face and how you shape the head and the cavities and all that stuff, you can make a stainless steel putter just as soft, if not softer, than a carbon steel head. So, like I said, this one is stainless steel, which I think is the first time they've ever done stainless steel in the BB series. I think it's always been a carbon steel putter. This one is 303 though, stainless, and the reason is Bettinardi said that's what majority of their tour staff, the players they have on tour, they play stainless steel heads, and they decided to go with stainless steel in these. So they basically wanted to add a little bit of the same feel and everything that the tour players request. They put it into this head, so that's why they went to 303 stainless. At least that's what I was told. But it is a really solid putter. I really like the AW. If you like something that is a little chunkier than a traditional small Answer or Newport blade, I think this thing's worth a try. Like I said, you get that traditional feel, the traditional shape, traditional look for the most part, but you get a little longer sight line, and I think you get a little more stability out of it. And like I said, the new one, the BB series, the BB series from Bettinardi, the new one, definitely feels and sounds way better than last year's. So if it's one of those, even if you have last year's, it's maybe even worth trying this one, because I thought, like I said, as soon as I hit it, I was like, this thing is much better, and I wanted to basically reshaft it, try it out, and see how it went. So right now, going forward, this is probably my gamer until I get it on the course and something performs differently than I expect, but I don't think that's going to happen. But right now, this is probably going to be my gamer at the moment. I will give credit I'm going to grab the head covers. I will just say that I will give head cover look. I'll give last year's actually the nod. If you're comparing them, I'll say last year's head cover is a little better. It's black with all the honeycomb all over it. They're honeycomb type of look. It's got like the Bettinardi on the top. It's got a cool red, white, and blue look. It's just a class. I think it was a classy head cover that looked really good. This year's isn't bad. It's just it's kind of got like a little bit of the fly mill type pattern on one side. The other side's just straight gray, and it's fine. It's just a little more subtle, and maybe some people like that. I don't necessarily need a crazy wild head cover, but I do have to say the red, white, and blue one here is pretty cool, and I do like it from last year. So The new one, like I said, fine. I will give the other knock. It's not magnetic, and I know some people are going to say, hey, these putters are more expensive than last year by a significant amount. I think with the more expensive, they could have went magnetic with the new cover. I wish that was the case because I don't love Velcro head covers. I think it's just a sound when you go over to get your putter out of the bag. And if somebody else is putting or they're chipping onto the green, hitting their wedge shot, and you want to grab your putter and walk up to your ball to get ready, mark it, clean it, whatever you want to do, you got to wait till that person's done hitting their shot before you kind of do the to open your head cover. So I wish they were magnetic. I really have fallen in love with kind of the magnetic head covers, but there's not a whole lot you can do there. But I will say I'll give the nod to last year's head cover. I think it's just a little bit cooler than this year's. So. But again, Bettinardi, if you're happen to listening, I don't think you are. I would love to see magnetic closures on these just for kind of the convenience of putting, of putting and the convenience of not interrupting other people while they're either, hitting their wedge shot or putting or whatever while you're trying to get your putter out of your bag. So, but that is the BB8W. Like I said, it'll be in my bag, at least for now, and probably the start of the season, unless something drastically changes here in the winter. But I don't see that necessarily happening. We'll see. I mean, there's other stuff. There's other putters coming and all that. So we'll see if something does, knock this out. But at the moment, it is going to be the putter. So we'll see. Like I said, see how that goes going forward. And then, like I said, we'll talk about the Inovai as well, because I think that is a pretty cool putter. Got to pull up my other podcast right here. I kind of messed it up. But anyway, so that's BBAW. Let's talk about Inovai for a second. But before we do, I want to let you know that, most golfers don't practice effectively because they don't have access to meaningful data and quality feedback. The Rapsodo mobile launch monitor helps solve that problem by providing immediate feedback on every shot in the form of flight data, video playback, and even a shot tracer. It's been rated the most accurate personal launch monitor on the market, and it was within 2% accuracy of units costing over $20,000. Rapsodo is offering Golf WRX listeners a special Black Friday offer, $150 off. So, I mean, I don't think you'll be able to find this thing cheaper anywhere else, plus a free 30-day premium subscription trial when using the code WRX at checkout. So go to rapsodo.com/WRX to learn more about this award-winning launch monitor and how it can help improve your game. But $150 off, phenomenal deal. If you're looking for somebody, I did a cool little video about wedge gapping. I think it's been a few weeks ago on the main Golf WRX channel, and I was using the Rapsodo MLM, and it's kind of cool. You can go out and hit some wedge shots, see where if you have any gapping issues, if you need to bend anything strong, weak, change anything out, and it's a simple, really kind of cool tool to go through and like I said, gapping your whole set, but also seeing, different launch conditions and all that. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with this, and they're adding tons of software features to it, all the time. So, but $150 off now through, or actually it was yesterday, through December 1st, $150 off. Just use the code WRX. But a phenomenal deal for a personal launch monitor if it's something that either you want to give to a golfer that's on your list, or two, something you want to get for yourself to either use in the off season or just have to kind of tune up and fine tune your game. But check that out because like I said, I think it's $350. Is it after the deal? You can't beat that. All right, excuse me. So. Finally, we're going to get into the Inovai, the Inovai, which stands for innovation. I actually had to go to a YouTube video with Sam Bettinardi talking about the Inovai to make sure I pronounced it right, because I know people called it the Inovai, Inovai, and I was like, I want to make sure that I pronounce it correctly, so it is the Inovai, and it stands for innovation, which is something that I think when you think about Bettinardi, you kind of think about, a lot of, traditional blades with maybe some kind of crazy milling or anything like that. But you don't think as much about mallets with them. And they've been making this Inovai line for quite a while now. And typically Inovai line is a blend of aluminum and stainless steel. and it's done in a way where they can increase MOI and basically add performance to a mallet with these multi-material heads. But they pack a lot of technology into these where the blades tend to be a little more traditional. I mean, there's still technology there, but they pump a little more technology into the Inovai series just because, there's more room to do it. Like I said, it's a mallet. You can, make different shapes and things like that that you just can't do with a blade. So the Inovai 8. So there's two new ones. There's a 6.0 and an 8.0. The 6.0 has a little different look to it, but we didn't, unfortunately, when you're doing brand new releases and stuff like that, you're not always able to get everything. The 6.0 is kind of like a fang putter. It's got a little channel in the middle and two kind of fangs that go on each side. And then the 8.0 here is a little more, I'll call it a little more traditional mallet, where it is all closed off, single long sight line right down the middle, and then it's got kind of a textured back to it where there's angles and things like that. It kind of is a little like stealth fighter-ish looking in terms of all the angles and all that are kind of milled into it. But a pretty cool looking piece, and I think when you set it down, it's fairly compact. It's basically about the size, a little smaller than the palm of my hand, so it's pretty compact. It's not a monster mallet. And then what they have is the front face portion, the face and the hosel, 303 stainless steel, and then the back half is 6061 aluminum. And they've milled out basically a big pocket in the back, and that there is to basically maintain some weight as well as add move some weight around in the head, optimize CG as well. And then this thing comes in actually just a little heavier. The BB series is 350 grams. This comes in about 358 grams. So a little heavier than the BB series. But overall, a really good look. I mean, when I first opened these, I mean, the Inovais have typically been love or hate for a lot of people. When they see them, they either love the shape or they hate the shape, and that's pretty much it. I think this one here, the most of the comments I've seen on it are that a lot of people really like it. I think they really like kind of the traditional, kind of squared off look to it. Just a little bit of kind of shaping, kind of the middle where it kind of pinches in a little. But overall, I think a lot of people are really happy with the shape and how it looks. And it isn't crazy wild, but it does have some depth to it when you look at it. But again, two pieces bolted together. You can kind of see the two bolts on the sole there. And then this thing, like I said, 303 stainless face and hosel. And then the face here has actually a milling that was brand new last year. I think it was last year, which is the roll control face, which is horizontal lines that are actually cut at different angles to promote a faster and cleaner forward roll, to get the ball rolling forward, less hopping, less skipping, all that. And Bettinardi likes to say that it's made for kind of aggressive putters, people who have a little quicker tempo, hit the ball a little firmer, a little more aggressive. This thing here provide a little more consistent roll for those players. The roll control from what I've hit here, again, just on putting mats, is that it does put an immediate forward roll. Not that I've noticed, much hopping or skipping with the BB face, but this thing here really does. I mean, the ball comes down, it just, it's forward roll almost immediately. I would love to play with it on, morning days with some dew on the ground, because that's like the immediate test where you can see kind of how the ball jumps and all that. But so far, like on a mat, it's putted really well. The roll has been really, really good. It's a putter that's really easy to square up, and I think there's two reasons for that, and I don't know if it was designed this way, but there's one, the long sight line, which I really like, but there's also the contrast between the black aluminum back and then the, kind of a matte finish stainless steel, and it was kind of like the old Odyssey Versa putters where they had that kind of that white stripe that went across the putter. I putted really well with that series, and I think this one here has kind of a little bit of that same look. And for me, it actually does help me line up. Now, again, I haven't been hitting 20 footers with 3 foot of break in them yet because I haven't got onto the course. But pretty much these straight putts and anything there, I've been able to line up really well. And I think it's a combination of those two things are really easy. And then the channel that kind of runs, where the sight line is kind of a recessed channel. It dips down a little bit, but you almost get to artificial lines that frame the ball pretty well as well. So I don't know if that's necessarily intentional, but it does work really well. The roll control face, again, great roll on it, is a little softer than the BB, not by much. I mean, if you're hitting them side by side, you may notice that this one's maybe just a little bit softer, just a slightly more muted click as it leaves the face. But if you weren't hitting them side by side, I think it would be kind of hard to tell which one is softer than the other. But using the exact same ball, hitting putts with them, the roll control face is just a little bit softer, and I think it's because those horizontal lines, there's just a little less material making contact with the ball on impact. But again, it's very close. Like I was kind of shocked at how close they are. But again, still pretty responsive. I mean, you hit it off the toe of the heel a little bit, you're going to get just a little louder click. You're going to get just a slightly firmer feel. Nothing crazy, but just enough to let you know that, hey, you didn't hit it square in the face. Stability-wise, it is pretty darn good. I mean, the ball stays on line well. And again, talking about putting mats here, but I was purposely hitting balls off the toe and the heel. Some not purposely, but for the most part, purposely hitting them off the toe and the heel. And, the ball stayed on line really well. So, again, these aren't 30-footers, so we're not quite there yet to say, the stability is insane. But, for the most part of putting on a mat and purposely hitting putts that are hitting off the toe of the heel, the ball, it still has a good roll to it, but it stays on line really well. Those shots there, when you do hit it, miss center, they tend to still have a really good roll. Again, there's not a ton of hops, skipping. The BB series, if you catch it, really high in the face or really low in the face, you could see a little more skidding and maybe a little bit of hop to it. But the roll control, for the most part, I mean, it's going to keep the ball rolling forward and smoothly, immediately. So the Inovai, it's great. Like I said, I really like the look of it. This is the slant neck version. We also have the one, I think they call it the stub, which is kind of the double bend, which is a little more closer to face balanced. This one here has just a little bit of toe hang to it. Not a ton, just a little bit. But it's something where it gives you a little bit of that blade feel through the stroke while still having the stability of the mallet. But I've liked this one a lot too so far. Again, these two, probably the 8W and this one, are two that I definitely want to get on the course soon because I really do want to try them, and I've putted really well with them in the office and in my house. But I've hit a ton of putts with both, just unfortunately not on real grass or not at true 30-yard length or 30 feet lengths yet, because that's typically about how far I am away from the hole. But overall, the Inovai series is really, really good. It's like I said, the shape-wise, really like it. I think it's something that is going to appeal to a lot of players. It's not too wild, too crazy, and I think the performance is going to be great. In terms of with putters, that's the one thing that look and then performance. Both those things are, I wouldn't call them 50-50 because a putter that performs really awesome can sometimes outweigh a little bit of the look. But if it's a putter that's just straight up ugly to your eye, it's one of those things where I don't even know if making a ton of putts would make a difference. Some people just aren't going to play it. I think the 8.0 for sure, the Inovai 8.0 is going to get a lot of players to look at it just because of the look. And they're going to set this thing down. It's going to look a little more traditional, not quite as wild, but they're going to know there's some tech there. And if they putt well with it, this is something that I think you're going to see in a lot more bags compared to some of the previous ones that have had a little more, advanced or wild, a little more flamboyant look to them. This is definitely a little more muted. And like I said, the flat black with the kind of the matte stainless steel. I don't think there should be any glare problems. There's really not a surface on here that's shiny, so I don't think there should be any glare problems, anything like that. But overall, I really like the shape, and so far I really like the performance of it. That little bit of toe hang, again, has been something that I found works for my swing more than I ever thought. I was always a straight back, straight through guy, but so far something with a little bit of toe hang has worked wonders for me. But yeah, so the Inovai and the BB series, both brand new. The head cover of this one, again, I wish it was magnetic. It's a little cooler look. It's got that that faux carbon fiber material, and then it's got some just white lettering with the hexagon B and the Inovai little wording on it. So it's pretty simple, but like I said, that carbon fiber look gives it a little bit of flash. But both these things brand new for 2022, both lines. So there's basically the Inovai 8.0, there's a slant neck and a regular and a kind of a double bend or similar, and then there's a 6.0 that has basically it's got a I'll call it a single bend, I guess. It's kind of a spud neck with kind of a double bendish shaft that goes into it. There's the slant neck here, and then they actually make a center shafted as well. And then for your lefties, unfortunately, they just make the spud neck or that kind of double bend shaft. And then there's the 8.0, which you get the spud neck, the double bend, or the slant neck. There's no center shaft option for this one. But you get quite at least a decent amount of options for for depending on what you're looking for. They make a couple different options, and hopefully something that fits your putting stroke and your eye. But overall, just a really kind of I think much improved two putters over last year. I think they really put some thought into these. I really like the new face milling on the BB. It really definitely is an improvement over last year's for sure. But the Inovai, especially this 8.0, I think it's just a putter that's going to attract a lot more golfers just because of the look and the shape. But both, I mean, Bettinardi quality. I mean, their milling is phenomenal. If you're comparing them to other big name millers out there in terms of milled putters, I think they basically stand up to just about anything else you could throw at it. Even if you're looking at some of the small boutique custom stuff. I mean, these guys, they do their main business started out milling, I think, for the aerospace and defense industry. So I think milling some putters is pretty simple when you compare it to what some of the other technical stuff they do. So this is a pretty simple job in a sense. But overall, like I said, really impressed with both. 8W is probably in my bag. Inovai 8.0 is probably going to get a shot here a little more. Like I said, those two, they may not make it back to the office too quickly. But overall, like I said, really improved. I really like both lines, and I think they're worth giving a shot. So if you go to bettinardi.com, check out some info on these. I don't know exactly when they'll be hitting shops, but they should be hitting shops in the next probably a month or so. But check these things out when you get a chance. I think you'll be very surprised and very pleased with how they roll the ball. So that's all I've got. Hopefully you guys, again, have a great Thanksgiving. I'm heading out here, going to go do some family stuff, and we'll talk a little bit next week. If you want to follow me on Instagram, there's a bunch of photos of the 8W and 8W this year's and last year. I did a little comparison photos. Check it out at Club Junkie Pod. And then maybe Friday I'll do a little Q&A session or something like that, because I didn't get it done yesterday. I'm not doing it today. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow while everybody's hanging around doing a little post-Thanksgiving digestion still. So let's say go Lions. I'm sorry that all of you have to watch them this week. They're terrible, but hey, we get one national game a year. Here it is. But anyway, guys, everybody have a good Thanksgiving, and we'll see you guys next week.